Filipino businessmen expect significant gains for the Philippines from the just concluded APEC summit. These include attracting more foreign investors into the country. Freddie Abando reports.
There were so many young, bright Filipinos who dream big to serve their people and country. One of them is engineer Aisha Mejino. She was driven by her passion to come up with a lighting solution for communities without electricity. It's common in the hinterlands and island settlements. Mejino's passion started in a remote Kalinga village in the Cordilleras, where residents had to walk at a long distance to secure kerosene for their lamps. This led Aisha and her brother to start SALT, better known as Salt Alternative Lighting. It's powered by salt water for those living in coastal areas and a saline solution for inhabitants in mountain villages.
We wanted to provide these people a lighting option that is more cost-effective, more safe, more sustainable and environmentally friendly by a way of a lantern that uses saline solution or ocean water as a means to, a catalyst to generate electricity. In turn, it will be able to power up LED and, of course, power up a USB port where you can also charge low-power mobile devices like your phones. Very essential during emergencies, especially disaster scenarios. So that's how we're trying to, of course, contribute in terms of the climate change. We are starting with the lamp. And what we see, the huge impact that we'll be able to contribute is when we try or when we dive into developing like a large scale for the technology that we have. Just imagine if you'll be able to power up a whole island using the ocean water. So our planet is composed of 70% salt water. So that's what we're trying to aim for.
ICE's technology has evolved into a social enterprise for inclusive growth in the countryside. She is just one of so many young, dynamic Filipinos starting their own business, providing employment for poor families. It has won the approval of U.S. President Barack Obama.
I do think that there's a role to play for government in providing tax incentives for the production of clean energy. What's been interesting, if you look at solar, for example, heavy subsidies on the front end, but because of the trend lines in reducing the costs per BTU coming out over the last several years, it's exceeded many of our expectations, and increasingly the subsidies become less and less necessary. So early phase, you may need some support. Over time, less support. A second area, Jack, where I do think that the government has an important role to play, and I think you wouldn't disagree with this, is on basic research and development. Most of your businesses, the people in this audience, you have an R&D budget, but oftentimes it's commercializing a technology that's relatively proven, tweaking it, where governments can do what it's hard for companies to do, is to that front-end basic research that doesn't have necessarily an immediate payoff, but will then serve as the laboratories for young people like Aisha to discover, based on that basic research, I've got a new idea and I can do something else. And that's, in fact, how the Internet came about in part.
Salt may be too small to light a home. It's economical and environment friendly. Its benefits go beyond one home or community, especially at a time when world leaders are debating solutions to the threat of climate change caused by carbon emissions.
I just wanted to emphasize that climate change is real. So it's a fact. It's not a myth that scientists created in order to get funding or grants. So it's real. So it's happening now. Just to give you like a simple analogy of what stage we are in climate change right now, it's like climate change is like cancer. So at stage 1, your cell starts mutating, and then at stage 2, you start feeling the symptoms. If you're self-aware, you go to the doctor and get treatment. If you're not aware, of course, you take it for granted, and then you go into stage 3, you start feeling the severe effects of the symptoms until finally stage 4, you're noticing that your health starts declining. You get the best oncologists, pay the best hospital, but it's not working because everything is too late.
Right.
So climate change is like that. So right now, I believe so, we're on stage 2. So we're stage 2. So
I'm just saying, people.
It's
You don't want to get to stage 4.
yes, and we don't want to get.
And we all have a huge investment in making sure that our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren are able to enjoy prosperity.
Humanity's health is also on the line. No less than Ma Jia, founder of Alibaba, one of China's richest men, expressed concern of how air pollution in his country has led to the rise of cancer in recent years.
20 years ago, very few people have heard about the cancer, the word, but now most of the families, my friends, they have people have cancers. So if we've been working so hard, if we work so hard and put all the money in the hospital, buy medicine, it will be a disaster. Why we should working? So if without a healthy environment of this earth, no matter how much money you make, no matter how wonderful you are, you have a bad disaster. So it's the concern we have. So we started 6 years ago, put 0.3% of the money of the total Alibaba revenue on encouraging, enable all the young people to find creative ways to solve the problem. And I think the money is always not enough, but the money we use try to wake up people's consciousness. Should know that the climate change problem. They should agree that the water is a problem, the food is a problem. So that is what we think. And after we're doing that, we think, because what Alibaba believe is, where is the opportunity? The opportunity always lies the place where people worry. But if we do not care about this earth, we do not care about the water, food, the environment, I think nobody can survive, whether you're big or small. So this is the concern. This is the worry I have.
President Obama stressed the time has come for the world to invest in more renewable sources of energy to deal with the worsening impact of climate change. President Obama and President Aquino will join other world leaders in Paris, France late this month for the Global Conference on Climate Change. It comes several months after Pope Francis issued his encyclical on climate change, Laudato Si. It underscores humanity's care for our common home, planet Earth.
And that's why in Paris, just 2 weeks from now, we have to come together around an ambitious framework to protect the one planet that we have while we still can. Now, the good news is already more than 160 countries, representing about 90% of global emissions, have put forward climate targets for post-2020. But we've got a lot more work to do. And nevertheless, I'm optimistic that we can get an outcome that we're all proud of, because we understand what's at stake. An ambitious agreement in Paris will prompt investors to invest in clean energy technologies, because they will understand that the world is committed to a low-carbon future.
For the People's Television Network, this is Freddie Abando reporting.